first of all, thank you for all the love that you guys have been showing me on each and every video. I love the comments, the questions. I'm happy to answer any of them. So please just let me know if you have a question. Just feel free to comment. Or also if you have any video requests, please just let me know. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys for first I think the 32 subscribers. So yeah, I mean, this is really motivating me to make these videos, to get this information out there, because I do want to share with all my fellow educators if they are interested in teaching over like abroad, a way that they can do so. So just let me know if you guys have any more questions or comments or anything like that. So, but yeah, I'm just a teacher here on summer break. This video is going to go into more of the interview process. I think a person commented below saying that they wanted to know more about the interview process. So how I'm going to break down this video is maybe kind of talk maybe what led up to the interview. So kind of like how those steps look. And then towards the end, kind of talk more about the interview process, or what was the interview like, and kind of end it like that. So yeah, but like I said before, if you want to know any more content or have any more questions, please just let me know and I can definitely make a video about it. But other than that, some other content or questions that I was going to address is, or not address, but I want to see if you guys wanted me to address them. So as some of you may know, I am expecting, and so I thought it might be fun. I wasn't sure if people wanted to know more about as a U.S. citizen giving birth, or you know, the process of what that looks like giving birth overseas. So let me know if you want to hear more about that. I also was thinking more about, since I am a teacher on summer break, and I believe there are a few places I plan on traveling. So if you want to see more of the travel aspect, traveling here overseas, specifically in Japan, or even in the Eastern Hemisphere, just let me know. I can definitely make more videos about that as well. So other than that, just let me know if you guys, want to see more content like that down below. I can definitely, yeah, like those are some ideas that I thought of, so I want to see if you guys are interested in. So other than that, I'm going to get into talking about the interview process. So here we go. To begin with, what led up to the interview process? So I believe if you check out my previous videos, I do talk about what that journey looked like leading up to it. But I'm going to start with you first get put on a referral list. And what a referral list is essentially either HR either recommended your name to I believe those schools. And so usually you'll get an email saying, hey, you put on a referral list for this school for, I believe they also say the position. And that's kind of where that stops at. So first step is that they'll kind of say, okay, you've been put on a referral list. After you kind of advance from that step, which how you advance is a school will just have to select you for a possible interview. So I believe when I would get the referral emails, it was like in the springtime. But then when I would then eventually, after spring, get moved into summer, because I believe I was out of school at my previous school that I worked at. I then got an email saying, hey, this school would like to select you for an interview. And so that's kind of like the time length that it takes. Now, it might be different for you. Sometimes it takes a lot less. Sometimes it might take a little bit more. So it just depends. So yeah, then they select you for an interview. And so with that, they email you basically what school would like to interview you. And I believe either the principal reaches out or someone within that school reaches out for sure, because I believe I was talking with the principals to coordinate when we could sit over the interview. A lot of the interviews are probably, unless you're just in the area, a lot of the interviews are going to be over like either Teams, or I know some people who don't have Teams. We used, what was the one? It was the one that we all used during COVID, Zoom. So yeah, it's going to be virtual. So that is one thing that you can keep in mind about the interview process. It probably will be virtual. So yeah, so you have to set up a time for that, because at the time I lived in Tennessee, they were all the way in Japan. We had to coordinate when, like, my time and a good time for their time. With that said, my interviews a lot of the time were in the evenings. That was a little different, but I mean, it's not too big of a deal, but that's something that I wanted to like kind of mention, like, it's in the evening. So I believe one interview I had just ate dinner, or maybe it was before dinner, because I was probably so nervous, and I'll get to that. But it was probably before dinner. I sat down for the interview and then I ate dinner afterwards. So that's kind of like what that looks like. So after you set up a time for the interview, let's say you then go into your interview process. So with the interviews that I actually had two. And so one, it was just me and the principal. And then the other one, it was the principal and the vice principal. It just depends on what school you go to. I don't think I've heard of any panel interviews. I believe it's just administration. I believe with the one school where it was just the principal, she was the only administrator at that school. And then with the last or the second school, it was they had a vice principal and a principal. So that's kind of how that looked for me, and kind of how the situation looked. So it was nothing out of the ordinary. And let me go into like the questions that happened, I want to say 3 years ago. But from what I remember, it was no questions that weren't like that I hadn't heard before. So of course they ask you, have you had a challenge that you had to overcome? Tell me about that challenge, what you did to, go into that challenge, and then how did you overcome it? The typical questions like, what's your strengths? What's some weaknesses that you have? La la la. So I feel like with the interview questions, it wasn't anything too crazy. And yeah, I mean, you probably have, if you have interviewed as a teacher before, you probably have heard those questions. With that said, they do provide you time. I think they both talked about the area of Japan, because they were in two different areas of Japan. So they do talk about the area of what they're in. And so that was very helpful to kind of get a good picture of what the school, or at least what the area is like. And so other than that, that's kind of how that looked. And yeah, other than that, yeah. So nothing too revolutionary, but I did want to come on here and address that person's question, because they did ask about the interview process. But I hope this helped. Just keep in mind that I do have older videos on my page that you can always go back and reference. But if the information is not in there, then yes, like how I said, at the beginning, then I will be happy to address any questions or any video requests. With that said, I'm on all socials, Woke Teacher. So, TikTok, Instagram, and of course on here. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your summer.